looking at the first practice problem we have an inscribed quadrilateral. So what I'm going to do is anytime I see an inscribed quadrilateral, I'm going to mark the ones that I know should be supplementary. So those two should be supplementary, and these two should also be supplementary because they're opposite from each other. So how I'm going to find these out is going, okay, well, they add up to 180, so I'm going to take the 180, I'm going to subtract off what I have, which in this case is the 45. And when I subtract off 45 in this case, I get 135. I'm going to plug that in just so I can tell which one it actually is. Moving on to the same thing, if I look, these two have to add up to 180, so I'm going to take 180 and subtract off 92, which is going to give me 88 degrees. Same thing, I'm going to just plug it in there. I'm going to look at what they actually ask for. They want the measure of angle J, okay, so that's 88 degrees. And they want the measure of angle K, which is 135 degrees. These next ones start to get a little bit tricky. We're going to look at this and we're going to at least mark what we have. Yet again, an inscribed quadrilateral, so I'm going to mark its opposite angles. That's opposite of here. This one is opposite of here. It's pretty much every other. So looking at that, I can at least find the measure of angle S real quick. I'm going to do 180 and I'm going to subtract off 93. And in this case, when I subtract off that, I get 87, which I'm then going to plug in over here. I don't have either of these, so let me see what I can actually do. In this case, I'm going to look. Okay, well, let's just highlight angle R. You do have to look around a little bit. I've already done these problems, so I am able to go, okay, I know this is going to work. But you might really have to try a couple different things first. So looking at this, angle R has this inscribed angle and its intercepted arc of this whole thing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the 90 and the 126 to get the total amount there. When I do that, I get this 216 degrees. If its arc is 216 degrees and I want to find its inscribed angle, all I'm going to do is multiply it by 1/2 or divide it by 2. And in this case, I'm going to get 108. So this is 108. Now the problem should pretty much be done. I have 108 and I just need the one across from it. The two are supplementary, so I'm going to say 180 minus 108. And I'm left with my 72 degrees, which I'm going to put here. Last thing I'm going to do is go ahead and fill in what they actually want. So the measure of angle P is 72 degrees. The measure of angle R is 108 degrees. And lastly, the measure of angle S is going to be 87 degrees. Looking at number 3, I don't even have any of the angles in here, so I'm definitely going to have to work with the things around it. I actually have 1, 2, 3 of the 4 sections. So the first thing that I personally did was I took 360 and I subtracted off the other 3. So I'm going to do 360 minus 39 minus 61 minus 147. And when I do that, I get an answer of 113 degrees. So I'm going to put that over here. I don't know yet how that's going to help me, but at least it's something that I can start with. I'm then going to look at, okay, what else do I possibly have? Well, I personally saw these two together and an angle that it was creating. So I have an inscribed angle and an intercepted arc. I have to add these two to figure out what I actually have first. So I'm going to add 39 plus 61, and that gives me 100 degrees, and I'm just going to put it here. If this is 100, I find its angle by halving it. So I'm going to do 100 times 1/2, which is going to give me 50 degrees. I'm going to fill that in here. It's enough to start off with these. I know angle D and angle B are supplementary. They add up to 180. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take 180 and I'm going to subtract off 50. This leaves me with 130 degrees. I'm going to put that here. Now I need to at least solve for either angle A or angle C. I personally went with C. You can choose whichever one you want though. So looking at this, I'm just gonna highlight what I got for C. So this is C and this is C. So its arc consists of 113 and 39, which makes sense why I might need this 113. So what I'm gonna do is add the two of them together. I'm getting 113 plus 39 equals, in this case I get 152. So I'm gonna plug that over here as 152. I want its actual angle though, the inscribed angle. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna take this and I'm gonna half it to get the angle. So I have 152 and I'm multiplying it by 1/2. So here when I multiply it by 1/2, I get 76 degrees. And I'm just yet again gonna plug that in here. The two of them here and here are supplementary because they're opposite from each other, inscribed in this circle. So here I'm gonna lastly take 180 minus 76 and I get 104. I'm gonna plug 104 degrees in there and let's see what they actually need. So they want the measure of angle A. In this case, I know it's 104 degrees. They want the measure of angle B. I know it's 130. Measure of angle C, which is 76 degrees, and the measure of angle D, which is 50. We get a little bit easier actually on these next ones. It's just adding algebra in it. But they end up giving us, for example, this angle and the one across from it. So what do we actually know about the two? They add up to 180. They're supplementary. So I have 68 plus 9x minus 5 equals 180. Combine your like terms. I get 63 plus 9x equals 180. Let's subtract off 63 from both sides. I get 9x is equal to 117 divided by 9. Sorry, you couldn't see that. Divide by 9. X equals 13. Is that what they want? Yeah. So let's just plug that in here. Moving on to number 5. Very similar in the case of how to set these up. They give me two of them. They're both opposite. They should be adding up to 180. So that's all I'm going to do here. So I have 133 plus 62 minus 5x equals 180. Let's combine our two like terms. In this case, we have 195 minus 5x equals 180. I'm going to subtract 195 to both sides. These cancel out, leaving me with negative 5x. Don't forget that negative equals negative 15. And simply from this point, divide by negative 5. Two negatives create a positive, leaving me with x equals 3. And that's actually what they did ask for in this case, so I'm going to just put 3 there. Okay, so we're going to be looking at right now number 6. The thing about number 6 and number 7 is they definitely have a ton of different ways to solve it. I'm going to show you the one that kind of utilizes the fact that it's an inscribed quadrilateral. However, you can definitely use the concepts from last section and be totally fine. So what we got here is I'm just going to mark my opposite angles and see what I got. So looking at that, what I'm going to think of is, okay, I already have this. Let me see what I can do here. So I'm going to extend this out. Extend this out. I can actually figure out this whole thing because 91 and 135, I can just add them together to get the actual full arc there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to have 91 plus 135, which in this case is still going to just be equal to 226 degrees. And I'm going to just throw that here. So if I look, if this whole thing is 226, I want to get its angle. We know the angle is half of it, so I'm going to take this 226 degrees and multiply it by 1/2, getting me 113. So let's put 113 here. Next up is just going to be looking at the two of them. We already know the two of them are supplementary. They add up to 180. So looking at that, I'm just going to get into my next equation, which is going to be 15x minus 23 plus 113 equals 180. Let's combine our like terms here. I'm gonna get 15x plus 90 equals 180. This we can kind of do in our head. The rest of it, we already know that's gonna be 90 divided by 15. I apologize, I think the dog is eating right next to us, so it sounds like a little weird. Sorry about that, guys. That's my answer, is x equals 6. Moving on to there, we get x equals 6. So what we got here is the next one I'm going to look. Okay, this is definitely the angle that they're focusing on. I'm going to mark its opposite. Let's extend this out a little bit. Don't have anything there. Let's take the other one. Let's extend that one out. Okay, so the two of them here, I have a 50 and I have a 96. We can do that quickly in our heads. 96 plus 50 is equal to 146. I'm going to put that over here, 146. If this whole thing is 146, I want to find the actual inscribed angle. All I'm going to do is half it. So I'm going to take 146 and multiply it by 1/2. Here, half of that, I get 73. So I'm going to put 73 in here. Not done, but at least I know where I'm probably going at this point. The two of them have to add up to 180 degrees. So here I have 12x minus 25 plus 73 equals 180. Let's combine our like terms. I'm going to get 12x plus 48 equals 180. Let's subtract that 48 from both sides. I get 12x equals 132. Divide by 12. Divide by 12. I get x equals 11. And that is all they actually wanted to know. So I'm just going to go to the bottom and put x equals 11 there. Last one in this part of this section is one of the problems where we actually have to go into our problem and list what we got. So the measure of angle W is equal to 5x plus 1. That's going to be there. Y is going to be 13x minus 37. This one actually ends up being easier than the last two. We already know those two add up to 180. It's more about the actual solving of the algebra, which we already know you guys are pretty strong at. So these two are going to add up to 180 degrees minus 36 equals 180. Let's add 36 and 36. Arthur has switched to drinking all of his water. Sorry about that, guys. So we get 216 divided by 18 divided by 18. You get x equals 12. Unfortunately, that is not all they want. They want to get measure of angle y. So the measure of angle y is equal to 13x minus 37. It's 13 times 12 minus 37. Okay, and we get 119 degrees. And that is our final answer and the end of this part of the section.